Oh, that's interesting. Hello, guys. My name is Vipers XBL. Welcome to the Game Takes podcast, episode number 48. Tonight's topic will be Open Talk May 2021, not February 2021, as I'm about to say. Let's not get confused with words. So, the Open Talk topic is, as most of you guys have watched the previous episode 3 months ago, it's mostly not a specific topic show podcast. It's mostly episode. It's usually just kind of going all over the place, learning about the career of our guests as we're going to kind of get further into it. So we're going to let our guest introduce himself, then we'll get going.
Hi, my name is Bill, also known as BillTheFajita on Twitch. I am a streamer as well as a registered nurse.
Yes, so that's so as you guys noticed, the first time I did the Open Talk podcast back in February 2021, I focused on musicians since I was kind of interested in that. Today, we're going to be focusing on kind of multiple game outside the gaming perspective, outside the gaming career. So mostly as a lot of the guests I featured usually are solely streamers, kind of focus solely on gaming, but they don't really have notice or show any of their other, the actual careers outside gaming. Some people are fortunate to be able to stream full time. Some hopefully want to live that dream, but have to kind of, or actually want to have a mix. So that's kind of what I focus on today. So we're gonna kind of go for all this. What got you into wanting? So let's kind of start from the beginning. Just say when you were going into high school, like just like senior year of high school. Why? What interested you into wanting to become a nurse?
So nursing, I always knew I wanted to do something in the medical field growing up because job security is definitely one of the things that my parents reinforced as I was like kind of coming of age and stuff like that, and kind of looking towards different things. Nursing wasn't actually my first, like when I graduated, I was like, I'm doing nursing. I initially wanted to do X-ray tech or some sort of like radiology.
So it still kind
Um,
of relates to the medical field.
yeah, exactly. But I got a job part time out of high school, uh, doing patient transport at one of my local hospitals, and I kind of was able to like see like different functions of the hospital, including like radiology, including nursing, and I kind of like fell in love with the concept of nursing and like the helping patients at the bedside and like having that like direct hands-on impact.
So what kind of interested you? Kind of do since you kind of didn't want to do nursing. You still kind of focused on the medical field when you were kind of graduating college. But what kind of interested you in the X-ray portion, like kind of X-ray?
Um, you know what? I like the idea of being in the medical field. I love like science and technology, and I really came at it from like a really naive standpoint because I didn't know, like I graduated high school when I was 17, and when you're 17 and somebody asks you, time for you to pick what you want to be for the rest of your life, it's kind of a hard question, and it's kind of not a lot of people have that much insight and direction at such a young age. So I'm super grateful that I was able to have a little bit of job experience in a hospital to kind of learn different roles before really making a decision, because it nursing ended up being what is absolutely right for me, and it worked out perfect for me.
So you kind of since you were 17, did you kind of take like you started working and then you went to college? Like just at least get like before you kind of make that final decision or
So my parents and I discussed it, and we came up with the decision to go to community college right off the bat, um, because it would be a lot less expensive. And since I really didn't know what I wanted to do, and they were going to help me pay for it, they were like, so we need to, if you're not sure what you want to do, we're not going to have you, pay 20, 30 grand a year for someone who doesn't know what they want to do. you know us helping pay college, that's an investment in your future. We want to make sure that like you know are going to be using that, you know, wisely. So we decided, let's do community college, because then I could still work part-time, go to college part-time, or I was full-time student, but it just worked with my part-time schedule. So
Mhm.
uh and it everything just kind of fell into place from there.
So kind of just curious, might as well give a shout out to college since they kind of, what college did you kind of, what community college did you head to before you kind of get further into the process?
So well, here's the thing. My community college basically was the whole process. I was able to
Oh,
get my associate's degree and nursing license through uh, the college I went to, which was Naugatuck Valley Community College in Connecticut.
oh, I didn't. Oh, I. So I go to community college too, Santa Fe College in Gainesville,
Oh, great.
Florida. I'm pursuing physical therapy, so this is the
Awesome.
PTA
Awesome.
program. So yeah, I think there's a nursing program there. So it's like, yeah, that kind of sounds right. I forgot you can get a nursing degree at a community college if it's they have a program for it. So I totally forgot about that. So kind of going into the college part, what was like, just screw, since you experienced it, how, like, what was I don't know how I want to say this. Like, was nursing school kind of hard? Like, as like when you like,
Uh, I mean, like it's definitely not an easy schooling choice. You know, with nursing school, you do need to take a lot of like science prerequisites with labs, and those can sometimes be tricky for people. Uh, and where at least where I was going to school, there was a high uh, application number as opposed to like available seats. So it was a very competitive uh, system to get into, because they looked at there was like a special test that you had to take to apply for nursing school called the T's. So they looked at these T's test scores as a portion of it. They looked at your overall GPA as a portion of it, and then they looked at your scores for specific sciences as a portion of it. Kind of like had a weighted balance between the three, and that's how they decided who got into the school or into like the special, like the nursing classes. And then once you're in the nursing classes, it was 4 days a week for 6 to 8 hours, sometimes longer, and there'd be a lot of book work, and 2 or 3 days a week. It especially towards the second half of like the schooling, a lot of it was clinical work, so we'd be in the hospital 2 days a week
so
with direct patient
yeah,
care.
so kind of seems, yeah, it's really stressful. Kind of going to these programs. I know the medical ones is usually kind of a kind of really hard degree. So kind of, you got accepted in this program. Have you
Mhm.
why? I this is it's good that you can be able to get a nursing degree in kind of community college rather than going to the big leagues. How come you'd never transfer? Like you never decided to transfer to like
Um,
just sit you Connecticut, so University of Connecticut. I think I don't know what Ivy League schools there. I totally forgot, but is it still the money or?
Honestly, once I had my associate's degree in nursing, the necessity to go into a different branch of like to like add on to the education from like a college perspective uh kind of fell to the wayside, because in a lot of locations for like staff nursing, for like floor nursing, you don't need much more than an associate's or a bachelor's degree, and the difference between an associate's and a bachelor's degree uh almost is like zero in regards to like what you do for a job as a nurse. um and the only benefit of moving on beyond that is to go into like a specialty, which I really don't want to do personally, or go into like management, which I also don't want to do. and having seen everything over the last 12 months, live in action, with nursing management through COVID and everything like that. I do not envy those people. As hard as it was for us, the staff nurses, like job security is still kind of like my priority. And you have more job security as a floor nurse than you do as someone in management. So, I'm kind of happy with the way that everything I decided to do went. And yeah.
So I know I would not. I know I probably have to because unfortunately my physical therapy assistant program does not have a full physical therapy doctorate program, so I probably have to transfer.
Right.
So since we're kind of going back into college, what was your most kind of memorable experience during your times at college?
So
It doesn't have to relate to the nursing school. It can be some,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, going to a community college is a little bit different than going to like a 4-year school or something like that, because you do like it's a commuter college. You still live wherever you're living, either at home, like most of the kids are living at home, uh, or in an apartment, or but like you go to school, you do your stuff, and then you leave. Uh, I remember when I was going to school there, I had a period between classes one semester where it was like a 3-hour window of like just total downtime. So what I used to do was, and this is back in like 2008, 2009, I used to bring my Nintendo Wii to this school and find an empty classroom. We'd hook up the Wii, and everybody would bring a GameCube controller, and we would just have like Smash afternoons, and that was a ton of fun.
So usually that was when you didn't have much homework. Like you never. It's usually
Um,
different for me because like anytime I probably the max downtime I was like probably an hour and 30, and that's I probably just did a little bit of homework during that time. Or is it just kind of you just didn't
uh,
feel like it?
yeah, I mean, honestly, like while I was there, a lot of my homework that I would have worked on like on the computer and stuff, and you know, I would have worked on it on like my computer at home, like after classes. And a lot of our classes were only like twice a week. So,
Same.
like you'd have some time, but during that 3-hour window, you know, a lot of my friends would just like be hanging around in like the cafeteria or one of like the public spaces. And so I would just like go socialize with them. And we thought it would be cool to play video games while we were at school.
So how many like you only probably only like a couple friends? How many people were kind of watching? It's like wait, what the fuck are you? You know, wait, you should be doing this. Should be working. Why the hell are you playing Wii for 3 hours between classes?
Maybe things were just like a little bit different 10 years ago or something like that, but as
Actually,
long
no.
as there was an empty
Let me add this. How many people were kind of watching, who like wanted to actually compete and that wanted to kind of play while you guys were kind of playing at the time? Like how many
there,
people
I
watching?
mean, we almost always had like at least four, but we've had days where there was like a rotation of like 10 or 12 people, and we'd just be rotating the people on the sticks.
Oh, just curious on
So
that one.
yeah, but there's a big group of people who played like Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh at the college. And so it was kind of like a nice change of pace from that. Like I used to play a lot of Magic the Gathering, and so I would play Magic sometimes during downtime at college, and like the same people, we would just get to talking and like, dude, like yeah, let's play Smash Bros. Let's go for it.
So we're gonna get off the college stuff now. Let's kind of
Sure.
talk about how the first, you graduate, you're looking for a job. How the like, what was the kind of the process of trying to find a nursing job, especially in your area? Like, kind of like how long
So
did it usually take you, and what was the kind of was it
so
stressful?
So I was super fortunate because that part-time job as a patient transporter at the hospital that I was working at, uh, they knew that I was in nursing school, and as soon as like I was getting close and stuff like that, I talked to a couple of the different managers. I made sure I put in like my application and stuff like that, and they took me with like open arms. So like I more or less had a job lined up for me as I graduated. Uh, it can be tricky getting a job in a hospital at first, especially for new grads. Um, and depending on what state you're in, it can be even tougher. I know California, the California new grads outside of this recent pandemic, if you wanted to get consistent work, it's tough to get it in a hospital. Sometimes you have to, start at like a rehab facility or something like that, or like a long-term nursing care facility, or even get a job out of state and then reapply for a job when you got like a year or two under your belt. I've seen but I was super super fortunate to be able to work where I wanted, you know, and the hours that I wanted. So it worked out really well.
How is it like compared to some of your other nursing graduates? I don't know if you kind of really like how does it compare? Like how did it compare for them? Like was it
Um,
kind of the same experience you? It just took like probably less than like a month or two, or was
so
it
yeah,
more difficult?
I had my license. So I actually started onboarding for my job and doing like the so nursing onboarding is kind of a whole process. For me, it was a 6 week like textbook like classroom onboarding first before we did any like hands-on stuff as a nurse. So I actually started that onboarding like classroom process before I even had my nursing license. um, and then I had taken the nursing test and went from there. Everything was fine. But I know some of my fellow students that I graduated with. I know some of them, it took them a while. Some people, we graduated at like the end of May. It took some people till like September, October to find work. Uh, where I was lucky and I was getting things rolling in June.
So that's yeah. I think it's just sometimes. I think it, especially with COVID, it's kind of hard to get a job. Even with the amount of availability, is just kind of, you know, it's so much a concern. You got to be lucky. Fortunately for like maybe the class of 2020, and maybe I don't really know about this year. Maybe it's a little bit better, but like maybe the class of 2020, class of 2021, it's going to be probably hard to find nursing jobs or like any kind of careers.
I
Um,
I don't know if I agree with that with 2021 specifically.
yeah, I'm probably
Uh
not guessing so, but probably the 2021 was more of a
and
hassle.
and and the reason I say that is because we lost a lot of nurses. Like a lot of nurses like quit nursing because of COVID. So hospitals now are like more willing to basically hire like with little to no experience just to like have somebody to take care of patients. They're hurting right now. So if you're a nurse looking for a job, they're out there, I promise you.
So kind of, were you someone like especially with COVID, were you kind of almost to a stage of quitting, like just wanting to leave, or just it's probably gonna heal, it's gonna.
So I'm not at a like stage where I want to quit nursing or anything like that. Listen, I did I think that I needed a pretty long vacation? Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm in a transitional period in my life where I am going to be moving like cross country. So that's going to be coming up. And I did intentionally basically set it up so I'd have about a month off from work uh, for the move and just to like decompress a little, like have some time to not worry about work and stuff like that.
So so kind of with travel nurse has been kind of popular in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Um, is this going to be with this move that's about to happen for you? Is it going to be
Yeah.
kind of permanent for like just, or is it just going to be just like rotation? Are you going to go to multiple locations at a time?
So I actually used to be a travel nurse. I did travel nursing for about a year and a half and went to a couple different spots in California. Loved my time with that. Uh, settled up, settled down in Northern California. The move that I'm doing now, uh, it'll be a permanent move, but I will be initially going as a travel nurse, just
So
just to like
yeah,
guarantee a job.
okay. Is it a lot like kind of is the why it feels like travel nurse is kind of like the new thing because some people don't like kind of staying in like a I don't know what it's kind of odd. People like to travel as nurses, but like any other career, it doesn't really happen that much.
Yeah, it's kind of something that's cool and unique to nursing, where you have these opportunity, and the way travel nursing works for those who are unfamiliar. Basically, hospitals put out contracts they're typically for 12 to 15 weeks, and they put out contracts for nurses for hire, basically, and they'll outsource uh, travel nurses. Think of them in sports like free agents, right? And so they'll hire these travel nurses. The incentive for travel nursing is that typically the pay is a little bit higher for travel nursing than it is
I suspect that because it's
as
going to cost a
opposed.
lot to move
Yeah.
furniture and stuff.
Right. So if with the cost of moving baked in and stuff like that, you kind of have to plus like temporary housing isn't very cheap compared to long-term housing rentals typically. So with all that baked in, travel nurses get paid a little bit more. They uh they may have to do a little bit more floating within their shifts and do a little bit more work like that, which is not uncommon. uh but again, these hospitals are in some sort of need for nurses, either until they can hire some permanent staff or just because it's a tough time. uh yeah.
So kind of would I don't know. You just it's just more like how stressful is it kind of just traveling from place to place, knowing that it's not you're going to be a permanent setting and kind of it. How does it feel? Kind of developing relationships in the hospital, kind of with your coworkers. I don't know. It's something off the bat.
Yeah. So there's a couple different aspects to it. Like especially if you're traveling alone, you are taking yourself and removing yourself from where you were prior, and then going to like a brand new place, and it's like a clean slate. So you know, you the the nurses that are there usually are pretty open and receptive to travel nurses because they know that travel nurses are here to do the staff a favor. Like, they're here to help. That's like basically the whole point of the job. Is the hospital's having a tough time, we're here to kind of like come in and just help with the nursing numbers and stuff like that. uh and you kind of, as far as like developing like relationships, finding friends and stuff like that, you kind of, you make a lot of friends along the way. Nurses are typically very social people. So especially when I was in California, I remember we worked a night shift, and a lot of the time we would get out of work at 7 in the morning and we'd go all grab brunch together or something like that. And you meet people that are going to be your friends, for a long time. And uh you do have to be able to put yourself out there a little bit, because you are kind of throwing yourself into an unknown situation. So uh I mean, it can definitely be a little scary, but I think that it's an amazing growing experience, and you learn a lot about yourself when you do something like that.
So kind of actually, since I was just trying to while I was kind of you talking, I was trying to see if I can find out some statistics about the nursing career. So having to kind of fill in those roles for struggling kind of hospitals. Do you
Mhm.
feel like the nursing career is declining? Like less people want to become nurses? Like
Um,
like especially with the, I don't know. Like, do you feel like there's less new nurses than like? Well, it's kind of hard for you because you travel a lot, so it's kind of hard to identify. In like the 2 to 3 month period, but is it kind of like that stage right now?
I think with the pandemic, right on our heels here, and we're us just turning the corner on even just like not having to wear a mask if you're vaccinated, right? Um, a lot of nurses and a lot of facilities are still recovering, um, and looking for more nurses. Do I think that COVID-19 is going to hurt nursing numbers in general? I'm going to say probably in the short term, yes. Uh, just because we had a lot of nurses retire and or quit the nursing profession during COVID. But I think give it a few years, and those numbers will be like kind of right back to normal. Nursing is one of those jobs that's pretty consistently like known to be like, listen, nursing's a good job. Uh, you know, you're gonna go to work, you're gonna get paid pretty well, and it's you're not gonna like worry about getting cut or losing your hours or something like that, because people are always gonna get sick, people are always gonna get old. Like that's the fact that people still exist, that's our job security.
So actually, one more thing we kind of just kind of describe more about your job. So
Yeah.
kind of we talked about the kind of all the other statistics. So for you got the blessing of getting that job in a 1 month period after graduating, which
Right.
is good. What were you kind of since we just since it's May, it's a lot of college graduates of 2021 just completed nursing program, all over the
Yeah.
nation. What would you kind of tell um, any of those? Like, what would you kind of, what tips would you give them to kind of make sure they can find the best suitable hospital while getting it, like finding a job quickly? Like,
um so as far as finding like your perfect job, eh, odds are your first job is not going to be your dream job. uh your first job, your goal should be to learn as much about nursing as possible, because while the schooling for nursing, is a lot of work and you do learn a lot, it there is a ton of just like stuff that you learn on the job, and those first couple of years are pretty crucial to really growing yourself as a nurse and developing your skills. So you kind of want to go somewhere that you're going to be able to really like learn, grow, develop, and within nursing has a really really interesting way of like career arcs. So outside of your classic like management or moving on to like a different degree program, uh the average nurse typically only stays on whatever floor they're working on for like 5 to 6 years on average. Uh, there is a lot of interhospital movement, and my work history is exclusively in hospitals. So, it may be a little different in more long-term care settings. Uh, but in the hospital, what you see often is you'll see nurses move from one unit to another unit after a few years, just to it helps with burnout. It kind of gives you a fresh perspective. And as a nurse, you should always be trying to like grow and learn, and really do what is right for you. So you know always have your eyes open for opportunities where you can have a potential to grow and learn. And it's nursing is also a team sport. So it no I in team, of course, and you have to be able to treat everyone with respect. Your aides, especially your aides, you'll live and die by the wonderful people. So you want to make sure that you're treating everybody with respect. If somebody needs help, you want to be there to help them, because if you need help, you expect others to help you. So you know really, healthcare is a teamwork. And as a physical therapist, future physical therapist, you're going to be right in this, because all these teams, especially in hospitals, everything's interdisciplinary. So I know at my current job, we speak directly with, we have like a little morning huddle with our patient. It's like the nurse, the physical therapist, the speech therapist, occupational therapist, and everybody works together to kind of formulate like a plan of care for the day and stuff like that. So you know it's definitely more team oriented now, I think, than it ever has been.
So that's good to hear. So kind of now we're gonna switch the process. We're gonna kind of switch it, not talking about the whole nursing background.
Sure.
So kind of talk about your specific role in the hospital. So kind of you. I think I read that you're a registered nurse. What is the kind of difference between? There's many different nurses. Kind of just say like LPN and RN. So kind of what the
so
differences are.
so a licensed practicing nurse, LPN, is a licensed program. It's not necessarily a degree program. So I think that's like the biggest difference, is the actual college degree. LPNs, there are certain things that fall within like their realm of like legal capabilities, uh, that don't quite match up with RN. Um, and you often see a lot of LPNs further their education by, there are a lot of like LPN to RN bridge programs that give you a degree and stuff like that. So you'll see that happen a lot. But LPNs are very important. However, if you're trying to get into a hospital, something like that, not a lot of hospitals these days hire LPNs. They've kind of become obsolete in a hospital setting, more or less. You just don't see it. Um, yeah.
So what are your responsibilities as a registered nurse? Kind of the like your dated like kind of just kind of ask some. I don't know how personal this gets, but or how secretive this might get, but what is your kind of your dated like
Sure.
what types of like how many patients do you usually have per day? What are your kind of responsibilities as a registered nurse? Like,
So nurse patient ratios vary depending on what state you're working in, what type of unit you're working in, like the acuity of your patients. So a lot of times you'll see what's called med surge, which is kind of like the general like hospital area, where not necessarily like a specialty or anything like that. You'll see a lot of facilities with like a 5 patients to 1 nurse kind of ratio. uh, and you'll see in California it's 5 to 1, but like somewhere like the southeast of the country, where there aren't as strong like nursing union presences, you can see those numbers as high as like 8 or 9 patients to 1 nurse. And then as you get more acute, those numbers go down all the way to like ICU, where depending on your patient, you have 1 or 2 patients to 1 nurse, depending on how sick the patient is, and as high as 3 in some cases. Uh, and it really just kind of depends on what floor you're working on. As far as my day to day, so I work in a neuro step down unit, basically meaning any patients who are
nerve problems?
yeah, a lot of neurological issues like strokes are like probably the most common uh, problem that patients will arrive to my floor on. But patients who are like not quite sick enough for ICU, but definitely demand like much closer monitoring. The floor that I work on, we have a 3 patient to 1 nurse ratio, which is super manageable, I believe. But we have patients, that need like hourly or every couple of hours, you know, you know, monitoring and medications and stuff like that. We have a lot of patients who require insulin drips. Say if their blood sugars are too high, they'll come to our floor. Anybody whose blood pressure is kind of on the edge, we took if a patient was COVID and required a lot of oxygen but wasn't quite ready for a ventilator, they would go to our floor and we would manage them during COVID. So that was definitely interesting.
So how like stressful was it? Like how was kind of before COVID? Like just say we're kind of do a comparison here, before
Yeah.
and after COVID. What was kind of like like? Did you have more patients? Well, the ratio was probably, I don't know how the ratios kind of went. So how was like what was it like kind of like as kind of comparison well probably this month and probably before COVID-19 and back in March 2020. How was it like? How's it compared to like the COVID times? Like,
So right now, at least in Northern California, the numbers for COVID are much lower than they were during the height of the pandemic. Uh, so I just worked last night, for example, and we didn't have any COVID patients on our floor. Yeah, woo! And really starting in April of 2020 is when we saw COVID patients really start pouring in. And we shut off our whole unit, and it basically became like the dedicated COVID floor for the hospital. So we didn't even see a lot of neuro patients for probably like an 8-month, 10-month window. As our unit was basically dedicated to COVID, and that really was like the number one thing that people were coming in with. And what happened most often is you'd see like nursing homes have COVID like go like wildfire through it, and you'd get like 8 or 10 admissions in like a 2-day period from one location saying like, well, here's all the COVID patients. And luckily our ratios were able to be maintained, so we were either in like a 3 or 4 patient to one nurse ratio. And really it's just a lot of monitoring of oxygen levels, and really just managing all your PPE, so like wearing your N95, and that was probably the biggest adjustment really is getting used to just wearing a lot of this equipment long term, because we put on this N95 mask and we basically left it on for a like a 12-hour shift, because you're bopping from room to room to room to room, and the amount of time it would take to take it off, and everything like that, plus supplies were low. We didn't have enough masks to afford to take it off every single time and get a new mask between every patient. Like we were just strapped for supplies. So it was definitely an experience unlike anything I've seen. A lot of nurses suffered a lot of moral injury because of this, because a lot of hospitals lost a ton of money during COVID. Hospitals lost a ton of money during COVID because one of the biggest money making things with hospitals are surgeries, and a lot of surgeries got put on the back burner because of COVID. So cash flow is a little low. So you saw like a lot of managers end up getting like laid off. And when you have managers who are laid off and staff who are extremely stressed out, you have fewer and fewer meetings with staff from management. And you see like a lot of people almost like develop some like resentment, and it's just this extremely stressful time, because this is before like vaccines were even a thought. We're running around like seeing these young people super sick with COVID, and we're like, we're here every day and we're in these rooms like is it only a matter of time until we're that person in the bed? Like what's going to happen to us? And luckily, our hospital did an extremely good job of limiting the number of cases that coworkers developed. I on my unit that I work on, I think we had like 2 nurses over the course of the whole year test positive. And like they were fine. But but yeah, it was kind of wild times.
Yeah, not fun. So let's kind of go more talk about COVID. I was supposed to talk about this later in the podcast when I had a list of what topics we'll talk about. We might as well get into COVID-19 topic.
Sure.
So first thing, did you get your vaccine?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which one?
Oh yeah. I'm a Moderna boy.
Oh, okay. Just curious on that one. Second thing, how do you feel about like kind of we seen sporting events? I don't know about in California, Florida, where I'm from. Yeah, we just had a big UFC tournament happen in Jacksonville. There's gonna, a couple of fights in Miami. As you
Right.
know, we had the NFL. Every NFL team have open seat, well, half capacity. Every college team kind of the same thing. How was like kind of like do you get
So
and also one thing that we just passed the law I think about a week or two ago that business like people co-workers don't some not nursing not in the hospitals but some places don't are not forcing people to wear masks. So what is it kind of like in California and how do you feel
so
about that?
so I'm in Northern California, and Northern California is one of the most strict, from a lockdown perspective, places in the entire country. And like we had a mask mandate in effect like in March of 2020. They're like, it's mask time, baby. Like that's live with it. And we've been like living with the mask thing for a while. I funny you mentioned sports, because I got tickets to go see a baseball game literally next week. The way that they're handling it here in Northern California is they have like social distanced like seats. So like you have your group of people that you go with. So you get 2 seats next to each other or whatever for that. But like the next group of people is like a few seats away. So it's not a full stadium, but we're gonna be out in the open. I'm gonna be wearing my mask when I'm not like eating or drinking something in the stadium. But I'm not sure what their rules are going to be. But you know, they're still kind of strict here. We still have like if you're in a grocery store or something like that, or like shopping or whatever, you still have to wear a mask. That's still a thing here. Um, and that they'll probably be a little slower to pull things back, but they are bringing back public things like concerts are going to be starting up this year. Baseball sports games are already going. They have fans. The NFL is planning to open up a lot of their stadiums back for fans. And I think with the combination of the people who are getting vaccinated, the people who aren't getting vaccinated still wearing masks, uh, or at least encouraging them to do so, should definitely help. I don't think that we're quite at the vaccine numbers to achieve like true herd immunity yet. But summer is typically pretty good for, people being outdoors and not in tight spaces together. So hopefully that will continue to see COVID numbers trend down. And really
When
it's,
sorry to interrupt. When
yeah,
do
yeah,
you
yeah.
kind of suspect kind of like when everything to actually return to normal, like fully without, just say for example, no mask restrictions, no social distancing, all that stuff.
I'll be real with you. I don't know how much we're going to know until we hit like maybe I want to see where we're at Christmas time this year. Because if we can get to Christmas and everything is still like looking pretty good and trending in the right direction, I think like things will be like wide open, like back to normal, like spring of next year. Like I really do. I think like no masks, nothing, even on like airlines and stuff like that. I could definitely see that being the case. I think you'll see a lot more people willingly wear masks in public. Um, but as far as mandates go, I don't think
It's probably not gonna be too strict anymore in probably the next couple of months.
I mean, as long as like the numbers keep trending down, I don't know why it would be.
So I don't know. I just thought about this at like 30 seconds ago. What plans did you have in 2020 that unfortunately got canceled due to COVID?
So I did have I bought concert tickets to see is Green Day, Weezer, and Fall Out Boy last year, and that concert got pushed back to summer this year actually. So it's gonna be like in August. So I do plan on going to that. But you know, the thing I missed out on most, I think, was just like socializing with friends, like just like the day-to-day stuff. Because we took lockdown pretty seriously up here, and a lot of my friends that I saw on like a weekly basis turned into like, see you once every like 2 to 3 months, maybe, with everybody kind of locked down. That's slowly getting back. But that was probably the hardest reckoning, was just especially for all your friends who are like extroverts out there and like need people. It was rough for them.
So did you kind of like this is I don't know. A lot of people did kind of have mental problems during that time, like depression, anxiety. Did you ever experience any of that because of that isolation?
Yeah, definitely had uh increased anxiety for sure, because not only were we seeing COVID and talking about COVID and stuff like that at work, I'd get out of work and the only thing that was on the news was COVID, COVID, COVID. Anything anybody like was talking about was COVID, COVID, COVID. So it was like, can't even escape it for work. You just kind of you felt trapped in this like COVID bubble.
Yeah, I
Um,
suspect that.
yeah,
So we're gonna kind of get off the kind of the medical topics.
sure.
So kind of talk about Twitch, you streaming because you kind of started. I think from what I'm looking, you kind of started recently. What
Yeah.
got you into kind of streaming and kind of yeah? Let's get that.
So I actually I started my like Twitch and YouTube career started back in 2007. I made Let's Plays under the name ChickenFajita 12. And I did a lot of like Nintendo Let's Plays, and did that for probably like 7 years, 8 years on a consistent level. Kind of like retired back in like 2014, 2015, when I just got busier with life, and nursing was you know where my focus was. And uh with the pandemic, of course, weird things happen, right? uh Started feeling a little isolated. um so I decided, and with travel nursing, I had kind of gotten like rid of my computer. I only had like a laptop just for like quick notes and stuff like that. But I decided to buy myself a nice computer and start the streaming up again. Figured, this is something that I used to love to do with like the Let's Plays. And I even did some streaming back on like Ustream and Justin.tv back in the day.
Give
And
you most. Sorry to interrupt. Give you
yeah,
kind of. I'm asking one question. Probably just give you a context. Again,
sure.
Justin TV was before it was kind of the prequel to Twitch TV. So after
Right.
Justin T, I don't know what happened. I don't know what got bought, but I think probably some. I think owner. So no, not no, sorry. I thought it was probably Amazon, but that was like a couple years ago. someone just bought Justin TV and they just replaced it with Twitch, and that's how it kind of stood. But second thing I want to ask about that is, what Let's Plays were you doing?
So I started off doing like Pokemon Let's Plays, a lot of Nintendo games, like the Donkey Kong Country series, Banjo Kazooie, uh, a lot of Pokemon. That was, I would say that's mostly is like Nintendo and Pokemon were like the big things that I did Let's Plays around. My first ever Let's Play was Pokemon Emerald, like back, like the first episode dropped in like December of 2007, and I was on like some like Windows like 2000 computer with like a built-in mic, and it was like you listen back and you're like, oh my god, people thought this quality was reasonable.
Yeah,
And
that's not before you got these really expert graphic cards and all that
right,
recording devices.
exactly.
Uh,
Exactly.
so kind of what what games do you kind of usually stream on your Twitch?
So for my Twitch channel, I really stream the same as I used to Let's Play. I do a lot of Pokemon. I do a lot of Nintendo games. I love to incorporate the community in all of the games that I play. So, all the channel rewards are something that the community can get a kick out of. I like to do community days every once in a while, and I love interacting with everybody. So we've really built ourselves a nice little wholesome group of friends over here.
So actually, one thing I want to ask, because I was thinking about this,
Yeah.
why fajita? Like, well, not like what's with the fajita portion? Because you said you were chicken fajita 12, now you build a fajita.
So in my infinite wisdom as a 15, 16-year-old trying to come up with a YouTube username.
Yeah, just choose your gamer tag. See what shit you can
so
come up with.
so uh so I was watching Family Guy back then.
Good show.
And it and listen, I watched it a lot growing up. But there's an episode, literally the very first episode, where Peter's in the drive-through going like, "Yeah, I'd like to buy some like 12,000 chicken fajitas." And whenever he mispronounced like fajitas like that and called it fajitas, it would just like kill me every time. Like I would just crack up. So I was just like, all right, chicken fajita 12, let's go. Like 12 is just my favorite number. So that's how Chicken Fajita 12 was born. And I kind of rebranded over the last like year to just build a fajita just a little simpler. I a lot of the time when I was streaming, I went by Bill and like didn't call myself like Chicken Fajita all the time. So there's people who know me from like the YouTube era, and they'll like refer to me as like chicken, or even fajita. But I've really just been kind of pushing Bill lately because it's so much easier for me.
Yeah. Um. So actually, I'm kind of reading the Twitch bio at the same time. You said you do voice. Well, you just kind of did right now with Peter Griffin. What other kind of voices do you do in regards to characters? Just might as well share out about
Sure. And it's part of the reason I love playing like Pokemon games and different like RPG games, because it gives you an opportunity to kind of like give these characters silly voices. Because then you could, you give characters like, everybody's got a little Kermit the Frog voice they give people sometimes. And and I apologize, like my voice is kind of shot right now because like I just woke up. I haven't really drank anything or anything like that. But you know, just I kind of just get like silly with it. Like I'll give people deep southern twangs and just kind of talk like this, give them a little Dale Gribble from King of the Hill. You turn it up a notch and be like, boy, I tell you what, I'm gonna smack you upside your head if you don't win this battle, boy. And you just kind of like let it flow. Everybody got a little Christopher Walken in there, just shows up, goes, hey, throwing over a Pikachu, gonna knock you right out, boy. And it's I don't know. I just kind of like go with the flow and see what happens. It gets kind of degenerate sometimes, but that's okay. I think we have a good time.
Have you been trying some new voices recently? Like,
I don't know if I've like tried to like do any
like try to learn
specific
any,
voice.
like try to learn any or something like that.
Not recently, but I think that's more just because I really just haven't thought about it much, to be honest with you. Because everything I feel like I treat it as very spur of the moment, and like the voice, I just try to like match the character more than like do a specific voice per se. So like if there's like, you know, like a nerdy looking Pokemon trainer, I'll hit him with the hi guys, like, oh, don't fight me, I'm a little nervous. And then you got like the big hikers, and you're gonna be like, hey, well, we're gonna fight about it. Let's go, go Geo, dude. You know, it really just kind of like tune your voice to like match the character. And then somehow every female voice is just a British lady going like, hey, we're gonna fight about it.
So kind of since actually I'll ask two questions about the voices thing. First thing,
Yeah.
have you ever decided to kind of get into actual voice acting where you kind of want to get into like actual acting, maybe as a cartoon character and like try to do cartoon shorts for like it's something around that line, if you kind of understand what I'm saying.
I mean, it's something that I like have thought about before, but just really have never had the means or anything to like really get into it. I haven't like seeked it out per se, but that's more because it hasn't necessarily been a priority for me. But
And
I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
And the second, oh crap, I just forgot. Second thing, have you, there's been big role playing games, especially but you kind of GTA 5 has been one of those role playing games that has been blowing up. Have you like thought about, been interested in that, like trying to role play in GTA 5, knowing the popularity, or you just kind of still want to stick, like especially with kind of how with your voices all there, you just still want to stick to kind of what you do at the moment, like with the games?
As it stands right now, I know that the people who currently go to my channel and stuff like that, a lot of us are like a lot of Nintendo diehards. So I think something like Grand Theft Auto would be a little off brand. I
Yeah.
do think it would be hilarious to be a part of some sort of like GTA RP though. That would be like just so goofy. And I was in somebody else's stream, one of my friends, AB Baby, and he was talking about it, and I was like, yo, that'd be like kind of fire to like get some people in the community and just mess around with something like that. So
Yeah, it's been popular in the last couple months. I'm just
yeah.
like really shocked, especially I play a lot of GTA 5. Not in
Mm-hmm.
the role playing perspective, but just and just seeing how mods can create one that just change the whole directive of a video game.
Yeah.
So kind of next topic I got is kind of well, I said you kind of got into. You said you're a Pokemon fan.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of I want to talk. I'm doing a future topic talking about the card business, like
Yeah.
the collectible cards. How do you like first like how do you feel about and this was probably a couple months ago. Have you ever decided to, do you have any Pokemon cards kind of collected that you kind of are interested in like selling?
I have a lot of Pokemon cards. When the original run of the old school Pokemon cards came out, I was a little kid, and my sister and I both loved collecting them. Didn't even like play Pokemon cards, just liked to look at them and stuff like that. Like I remember growing up, my sister and I would just like flip through the binders and like just like read the cards, like but I have uh the base set complete, and then I have the jungle and fossil set incomplete first edition, as well as like maybe 12 to 15 like unopened booster packs just like chilling at home. And I've honestly been debating, like, is now the time to maximize profits and flip them, or do you just continue to hold them?
Why is Pokemon cards so valuable? Like, what creates the value
Uh,
aspect?
it's a lot of it's scarcity, right? It's so hard to find Pokemon cards because buyers will just kind of snatch them up, and collectors will snatch them up uh pretty quickly. I mean, look at like Target. Target just banned like the sale of Pokemon cards because people are ruthless. Uh it's kind of sad because I remember growing up and just like being able to walk into like a KB Toys or an Electronic Games or something and be like, oh cool, there's packs of Pokemon cards for like $3. Let's go, like, I have $10. Let's grab 3 packs and just go from there. It's so much different now. It does feel like people are collecting Pokemon cards today for the sole profit, for the sole purpose of profit. Like that's the only reason people are actually getting into it, because some of these cards are so extremely valuable. And you even see like online, like a lot of like the card grading companies are struggling to get these cards graded because like everybody and their mother is like, well, I found some old Pokemon cards, grade them for me. So they're just completely overwhelmed. And, you know, hype is a huge part of this price boom right now. When you have creators like Jake Paul or Logan Paul rather, and just like so many like people on Twitch and YouTube just opening packs and stuff like that. The hype is there, and the hype is targeted at, you know, the millennial nostalgia as well as like, like these up and coming like Gen Zers, and it's, everybody's on board with it basically. So between like all this extra hype, the rarity of these cards, like how hard they are to find, uh you're gonna see price just skyrocket for a lot of these cards.
I'm not shocked because I've never seen people buy them for $1 million or like 100K, and it's like, oh, really? You don't know what you're gonna get out of it.
Do you have any
It's,
Pokemon cards?
no, I do not. I don't know. No, not a Pokemon guy. I don't know. I'm not like kind of
Fair enough.
into like, I don't know if you're going right. I don't know. I'm probably gonna get a lot of. I'm not really into anime. That's I don't know if I'm probably guessing. That's why I'm sorry.
It's all right. I'm not
Yeah,
into anime that much either.
yeah. It's just not my interest to collect those cards, even with Magic the Gathering. Any of the other
Yeah.
cards. I tried to look for them once at Walmart just to see because they started rising up this year.
Yeah.
But I I do have sports cards. I don't know
Oh,
where they
cool.
are. I have a booklet. But I don't remember where they are. I don't know how much value it got because I think they just don't have any value. I don't know what the value is. I can't even
Got to get
find it.
that Dan Marino rookie card, right?
Yeah. Actually, I did go to I think yesterday I went to like a flea market, and I found a section of baseball cards, and I was like, I kind of wanted to look, but unfortunately, I had to go. I had to go somewhere like in the like I had to go somewhere, after looking at the flea market. So unfortunately, couldn't look at the cards. As looks like his screen is frozen. Oh, sorry, nope, it's not. So that's just unfortunate. I didn't have time to look for it. But so the next topic, since I got a real, since I usually kind of research these guys via kind of social media, I
Yeah.
noticed that you are a Seahawks fan, as we got you. I don't know, like wearing a mask, and I think there's one more. No, I probably can't find it. I'm not gonna find it. So kind of want to talk about the NFL, kind of just like this
Sure.
last
Love
portion of
it.
it. Talk about the NFL. So let's start. Let's start with your Seahawks. Since I got a couple, you can ask me questions about the Lions if you kind of have any for me. So let's Russell Wilson
Yeah.
rumored to go because of the bad offensive line. Do you see him? Like, how many years do you think, if just say he's sacked 20 billion times again, how many years do you think he's going to stay at the Seahawks?
I think this year is a very important year for the Seattle Seahawks and Russell Wilson's relationship. I do think that Seattle did invest a little bit into the offensive line and offensive weapons for Russell Wilson. I think that if Seattle can keep him upright just like a little bit better, and if Seattle uh, ends up going a little bit further in the playoffs, I think it's all water under the bridge. I really do. Because I mean, you look at situations like Aaron Rodgers, and that outside of drafting like Devontae Adams, like the team hasn't done him a lot of favors on offense as far as weapons go, and you see why he's like having a tough time. And it's really you have to imagine how hard it is for some of these quarterbacks to look at Tom Brady, who goes from a literal perfect situation in New England to another literal perfect situation in Tampa Bay, like the luckiest quarterback in the history of sports.
He's already had, like, when he moved to Tampa, I was like, oh, I wish he stayed for the legacy, but thank God you got a team that all it needed was a quarterback. Like Jameis Winston wasn't. Well, Jameis Winston had a lot of touchdowns, but he threw a lot of picks, so he's not
Right.
anywhere
Right.
to where you can win him a Super Bowl. Like
Right.
when Tampa won a Super Bowl, and you put him with Godwin, Mike Evans, Ronald Jones. Your defense was pretty fine. You had a couple pieces in offseason.
Yeah.
Then you add, because you're Tom Brady, you encourage Gronkowski, you encourage, well, Fournette got traded, but kind of just say, yeah, that you got Brown, you got many other people who want to play with Brady, and boom, you got a
Right.
Super Bowl championship in your first year.
Right. Right. And they're looking to run it back. They have like the identical squad.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think anyone left. Um, I don't know. Being a Lions fan, I kind of want Aaron Rodgers to leave. It's
I'm
something.
sure.
Yeah, it's just something about it. So Seahawks, you guys got free draft picks, which was the lowest. They want. You got, I think,
Yeah.
Green Eskridge, a wide receiver at Western Michigan who's 24 years old. A little bit concerned about that. I think you guys got a corner and a offensive tackle from the University of Florida and Stone Forsythe. Was it kind of like, I don't know how much impact are those players going to make for Russell Wilson to kind of make those steps to another Super Bowl?
So not only did we draft those players, and I think a lot of them can kind of fill in bit roles and be like great depth players. I think Dwayne Eskridge will be a solid like slot receiver for Seattle in time. Seattle definitely needed depth at corner, and Stone's a big boy. He's like 6'8" or something insane like that. So he's like a nice piece to have. But Seattle also traded for Gabe Jackson out of Oakland in the offseason, get some help on the offensive line. Seattle just talked to Russ actually like yesterday about restructuring his contract. So they might be anticipating bringing in another player. There's still a couple of like tackles on the free agent market that might be like someone worth talking to. Like Mitchell Schwartz is still available. I know he had like a big injury like a year and a half ago, but
Actually, I think it was this year because
or was it at the beginning of this year?
You remember, if you watched the Super, let me see if he's actually, well, you remember watching the Super Bowl this year. They lost Eric. I think they lost Eric Fisher the game before. And then Mitchell Schwartz. Actually, it's actually being talked about on Google, the top news stories, but they got injured Super Bowl, and that's why Patrick Mahomes ended up on the ground more than staying up.
I know Seahawks fans felt a little cathartic that day because they're like, this is what Russell Wilson deals with all the time. And it literally took one game for Kansas City to be like, oh, we're fixing this. This is not a problem that we're going to have moving forward. But you can't really like predict injuries either. You lose both your starting tackles before the Super Bowl. That's just bad luck.
Yeah. So how did you? This is this. So I want to ask you a question. It's about it. Do you think the Seahawks, with what they got right now, kind of talk about the NFC West, kind of with dealing with a lot of kind of interesting quarterback situations with, you got the Rams with Matthew Stafford, I think good for him because Lions, don't want to be a Lions player for 11 years.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We got Jared Goff. I think we'll be fine, but we got no wide receivers.
It's all right. The Lions will not, I promise you, the Lions will not secure the 1 overall pick this year. The Texans are in the league.
Yeah. And so seeing how Matthew Stafford would probably help, you see that situation. And you see
Sure.
the 49ers with Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, seeing what they want to do. Is it going to be another Jordan Love situation? Maybe like with, he's not going to start the first year. We don't know if he's going to start the first year. And then you got kind of Kyler Murray and Cardinals, who looks like a team that has a lot of potential, but just can't live up to it. Like, do the Seahawks feel like this is another number one seed in the West?
So the NFC West is going to be a bloodbath, straight up. I think that all 4 teams are extremely talented, but all 4 teams also kind of have like big overhanging question marks. And weirdly enough, this is like the first year in a pretty long time that I think the Seahawks are maybe the most stable of the 4 teams.
That kind of seems shocking.
Yeah.
Especially with the reports.
Yeah, exactly. I know. But like Seattle returns most of the team from last year. I think they upgraded at a lot of key positions. And I still think that there's going to be making a couple more moves before the season starts. Richard Sherman is still a free agent. KJ Wright is still a free agent. So I really expect Seattle to sign at least one of those 2 guys. There's still like $7 or $8 million in cap. I think that with the NFC West, with the Cardinals, a lot hinges on Kyler Murray's ability to develop and grow as a quarterback. He kind of got figured out towards the end of last year, and that offense wasn't as productive down the stretch. They did bolster the defense, but they lost Patrick Peterson. So I feel like it's kind of about a net wash. The Rams, I think that the upgraded quarterback is definitely significant. Year 1 in a lot of systems can be a little spicy. I mean, Tom Brady said no to that, but Tom Brady's Tom Brady. And I don't think anybody's saying that Matt Stafford is Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. Stafford's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. But I think there's going to be some growing pains. I think the Rams defense is going to take a little bit of a step back. They lost their coaching staff over there. They lost a couple bodies to free agency. The 49ers are a team that are going to be growing over the next couple of years. Like, they already have a solid base. They have a solid foundation.
They got they got a good defense, but the offensive situation you're gonna have to kind of figure out.
Great defense, and they have a fantastic offensive coach. I think there's still a few pieces away from really being a complete offense, but you got Kittle there as a security blanket for Jimmy G until he gets hurt in week 3, and then they got to throw Trey Lance in. So,
oh my God, it's always gonna happen.
Come on, like you see it coming a mile away.
Yeah, I do.
So, I mean, I think Trey Lance will be like the starter by midseason for sure. Do I think that he's going to be like successful off the bat? Tough to say, because he's got such a small amount of snaps under his belt. He didn't really play that much in college. So it'll be interesting to see how he grows and develops. But I think that if I were to pick like 2 teams that would be most likely to be on top of the division by the end of the year, I would say like Seattle and the Rams are probably the 2 best overall squads. I think San Francisco is going to have some growing pains with their quarterback situation. And I don't know that the Cardinals defense got good enough to really consistently win games. They may be kind of in like a Matt Ryan Falcons situation where, we can put up 40 points in a game, but teams might be running up 45 on us.
Mm-hmm. So let's kind of talk about kind of my division. So the
Sure.
Bears, they're dealing with new kind of quarterback fiasco. Justin Fields, I think he's going to probably start week 1. If I'm probably guessing latest, it'll probably be week 4. Just see how Andy Dalton is.
Sure.
So the defense is strong. The offense, they're having kind of some it's part of quarterback issues. They've got good wide receivers. It's just kind of talking about all the teams. So Bears, I think
Yeah.
it's not. So Packers, you're dealing with a
They
kind of iffy cornerback situation where you did pick up a cornerback in the first round, but not one that should be a first round grade. Um, you get Aaron Rodgers. Is he going to stay? Jordan Love isn't developing. You pick up Blake Bortles. Is it going to,
that
just
team straight up lives and dies by Aaron Rodgers. If
yeah,
Rodgers is gone, Green Bay is gunning for that number 1 overall pick.
yeah.
Like that's just the bottom line.
2 years in an NFC Championship game, lose it, especially last year. That's one you should not lose. Well, it probably happens. It was probably gonna be closer than expected, but it did not look close at all until like the end of the game, which is garbage time.
Right.
Defense still kind of, you just lost. You guys see how defensive line. There's a lot of wide receivers. You did not really. No, you did. They did pick up Amari Rogers from Clemson, so they're trying to see what find another complement piece to Devontae Adams. Vikings, you got good wide receivers, quarterback, consistent but nothing really explosive. Defense,
I like that Justin Jefferson kid though.
yeah,
Him and Adam Thielen, that's a pretty killer combo.
yeah, I think it was going to be a receiver overall. And so offensive line, I think that was still kind of a weakness for that team. I don't know about the defense. Lions probably the worst one in the situation, but hopefully, offensive line, you really bulk it up. You got Frank Ragnow, you just signed to extension to Taylor Decker. I think Jonah Jackson, you just picked up Penei Sewell, which unfortunately, when I was watching the draft, I was wanting Devontae Smith. But I got a hype on the Penei Sewell hype train. You got a good running back. Quarterback is a little bit of a downgrade. You got to see how it goes.
Right.
I don't know how you're just trading salary cap casualties at this point.
Sure.
But again, you got to get Matthew Stafford somewhere better than Lions. Defenses is going to be the shit show. Wide receivers. You don't have any. You're probably the worst wide receiving core, but you could. I wish they picked up wide receiver early on instead of the 4th round. Monroe State Brown could be. I think it's going to be probably a start of day 1, because of how crappy the situation is. So you got a blessing. And then defense, you pick up 2 defensive tackles, linebackers. You lost one of them to free agency, and then the secondary is still hopefully Akuda approves. That's all I got to swing with my division. So I think for top 2, I'm going to go with. I think I got Minnesota and Green Bay. I think for top 2, and then maybe I
think Chicago could make a run if Justin Fields ends up being like something special.
Yeah.
But I think Minnesota's probably, like, in my heart of hearts, I think Minnesota's maybe the favorite just because they're like the most stable team right now.
Yeah.
And we still don't know what's going on with Green Bay and Rodgers.
Yeah. So how do you feel, like, we just kind of come back to topics. How do you feel about the 17-game schedule? Like, how much of a difference would it make? Because I was shocked by it.
It's definitely something interesting. I'm surprised the players union didn't fight it harder, but I think with the fewer preseason games that they'll end up having, most likely, I don't think that people are too worried about it. My biggest concern is how does this impact fantasy football as a fan, and this is going to give teams an extra week if they're like on the bubble to get into the playoffs. So not only with the extra wild card teams that they introduced last year, but having an extra game might be a huge difference maker for some teams.
I just worry about the injuries. Like, one extra week,
Sure.
like unless you're a bye team, which you got to be Kansas City situation. Yeah, that's not good.
I'd say look at it from the perspective of like how many people get injured during wild card weekend because of they play an extra week of football. I mean, how much more prevalent are injuries because of that?
I don't know. I'm really fat. I don't know. It's just, it's just one more week that your star can get injured, and it can
Sure.
happen in game 17. Just say you're a team in a bubble. You're trying to make the playoffs. You could have made the playoffs the last week because of that 16 game schedule, but because you have the extra week now, it's your position can be stolen. Baker may just say you're the Browns and like Steelers
Mm-hmm.
fighting for like a wild card spot. Baker Mayfield throws a pass, gets sacked, tears his ACL, he's out for the whole year, the next
Mm-hmm.
year, and what happens if that, or like, what happens in that situation? Anything could happen, but it's
Right.
just that extra week of possible injury, and that's where you got the concerns about. Uh, so actually, I didn't have any more NFL topics to kind of talk about, but let's kind of, since you're wearing a 76ers hoodie, what got you into this? Actually, I forgot to ask this. What got you into being a Seahawks fan? I know you're
So
from Connecticut, and
so I'm originally from Connecticut, and I am a Seahawks fan. I'm a 76ers fan. I am a San Jose Sharks fan, and I am a Mets fan.
really random.
Those are my big four. I don't know that there's another sports fan with that exact combo. It's been a wild ride, but my dad has been a Seahawks fan since the Seahawks came out back in the 70s. So, I have literal baby pictures in Seahawks gear. One of my best friends at home is a diehard 76ers fan and has been since he was a kid. And then I started watching basketball like maybe like 10-ish years ago. And, just jumped on the 76ers hype train, trust the process. The Mets, they're like the only local team that I'm a fan of. And that was a mistake. And then the San
Well,
Jose
well, well. They're leading. They're leading in MLB, so it's kind of
we'll
working.
see. We'll see. We'll see. The Mets are really good at like giving their fans hope and then immediately taking it away when it matters.
Hmm.
So we'll see how that goes. And then the Sharks, I'm not gonna lie, I thought their color scheme was fly like 10 years ago. So I was like, all right, Sharks look dope. Let's go.
So kind of going NBA, we're going to kind of head into the playoffs.
Yeah.
The 76ers are first seed. This is, I don't know when this is the last time it's probably happened, probably back in the 2000s when you had AI.
Oh yeah, probably.
So you guys will have, so they played the match already. No, actually, you guys are going to probably have the Wizards or the Pacers.
Right.
So how do you feel about like, so Wizards, they got, Pacers, I think it could be a really strong, probably good 8 seed. You're
Yeah.
probably going to say it's a Western Conference too. Well, if the Warriors make it, that's going to be a good for Jazz. But how do you
Right.
feel about kind
That
of that
game last
matchup?
night. That game last night, by the way, that was wild. That was a
Yeah,
wild finish.
I didn't watch it, fortunately. So, but
Um,
I kind of knew what happens with the highlights and all that. So,
mhm.
how do you feel about like the 76ers playoff
uh,
hopes?
I'm cautiously optimistic. The 76ers, uh, health has always been like the biggest concern for this team, especially, since without JoJo, they are just like a totally different team. And Joel Embiid is really just the heart and soul of Philadelphia right now. He's the only thing keeping that city alive. So I think a lot is riding on this season. I think that the 76ers can make a deep push for
The final spot.
for the final spot. It's going to be tough. I think that NBA this year has more like parity across the board. I think there's more like consistently good teams in this year's playoff picture than there really ever has been. And I, there's a lot of teams that make me nervous. Like even like you got the Bucks, the Nets are obviously like a built to win contender. Like
If they want to play, if all these players
right, but
want to play.
it's man, I could see uh, I could see it be the Sixers and the Nets in the Eastern Conference Final, and then like the Sixers losing Game 7, and then Kevin Durant just like smile at the Sixers, and I'd be like so devastated. I can just see it happening, and then I can see LeBron just winning it all because of like the Lakers just have LeBron, and LeBron he just
Yeah.
wins. Like whether you want him to or not, he's like inevitable. He's like Thanos. He's like, I am inevitable. Let me hit a jump away 3 to seal a game real quick.
Yeah. So that's kind of. I think it's gonna be interesting. Fortunately, I didn't. Pistons got the second worst record in the NBA at 20-52, right behind the Rockets. So I guess we're getting number 2 pick unless it's lottery time, which is good. So we get number 1. What? So what? So we're gonna list kind of the teams in the playoffs. We're gonna kind of just count in the teams that are gonna play tonight on too.
Yeah.
76ers, Nets, Bucks, Knicks, Hawks, Heat, Celtics, Wizards, and Pacers. So you said the 76ers and Nets are probably gonna be Eastern Conference Finals. Which team do you think could be shocking? Could be shocking to make that finals to replace one of those 2
I
teams?
I I could really see like the Heat surprising people. I think Jimmy
Number
Butler's
6.
yeah, I think Jimmy Butler's incredible. Um, and I really think that they match up well with a lot of the teams that are in the top here. Like they match up well with Philly. And they could definitely hang with the Nets. But it'll be tough to. I mean, the Bucks are a really good team. I think that series is going to be awesome to watch.
Bucks and Heat first round. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Go Knicks. Just joking. I can't believe it. That's a big turnaround.
Huge turnaround. That's probably the shocker of the season. I don't think anybody expected the Knicks to be relevant.
Well, you're the East, so it doesn't really matter what it's gonna be. You don't know what you're gonna get in the East.
You literally never know. Yeah.
So let's get the Western Conference.
Yep.
Jazz. So this is gonna be order 1 through 9. Whatever.
Yep.
Jazz, Suns, Nuggets, Clippers, Mavericks, Trailblazers, Lakers, and then tomorrow night, Warriors and Grizzlies.
Yep.
I think Jazz got to make it sometime.
I think
Fortunately, Donovan Mitchell got injured, and that's killer.
that's huge.
I think the Suns, you got Wow, I didn't realize this. 51 and 21. I guess CP3 was the move.
Because I think if the Warriors beat the Grizzlies, I think they can hang with the Jazz in a series. I really do. And if I'm the Jazz, I am praying that the Grizzlies win because I don't think anybody wants to play against the pissed off Steph Curry who just lost to LeBron.
Yeah, no one wants to do that. I think the Nuggets have a good chance. I think they're always a team that they made the Eastern, not Eastern, then the West. What am I doing with geography? Western Conference Finals last year against the Lakers. They almost beat them. I forgot. I think it was 4-2 or 4-3. So I think they have a good chance. I've always thought, I don't know why these cold cities are always doing good. It's different in some other sports.
Right.
Actually, no, never mind. Green Bay. Yeah, they have like Jazz and Nuggets. Like, I don't think any sports player would never want to play there, but it's actually working. Sometimes, maybe not having the spotlight, the sunlight on you is probably, works for you. And the Clippers. Wait, Clippers are 4? Oh, I didn't realize. Oh, I forgot they got. So yeah, that's very. I don't know. I think Nuggets have a good chance. I think Nuggets could possibly make it. I think Nuggets will probably make the finals.
I can see that.
I don't know the Suns. It feels like CP3. There's gonna be some problems because he hasn't made it to a finals ever, and he's been there like a Western Conference finals multiple times, and I don't know. I just can't see it sticking.
Yeah,
Well,
I think the Lakers maybe are getting hot at the right time.
Yeah, especially all the players getting back. I think that's what killed them. That's why it was 7.
Right.
Some people have to forget about is that they're 7th place because of all those. They had LeBron and AD out for the last month or
Right.
5. It's been like that for like about 2 months now.
Even the same with the Warriors. Like the Warriors had a lot of injuries this year too, so that kind of held them back.
Yeah, you lost Klay Thompson for a second year in a row. That's not good.
Right.
Well, that's gonna kind of be it for the Open Talk May 2021 podcast episode 40 of Game Takes. Do you want to give any shouts before we end it off?
I just thank you for having me. If you enjoyed listening to me answer some wonderful questions, you can find me at twitch.tv/BillTheFajita. And you can find me on all my socials at BillTheFajita. So feel free to check me out when I stream. It's mostly Pokemon games or Nintendo games. Those are kind of like my big thing. And I stream 2 nights a week based on my work schedule, always at 5 p.m. Pacific.
Oh, actually, oh crap! I forgot to ask this. I kind of went off this. What are your future What are your goals for like the summer? Like kind of with your streaming career in the next couple, like just kind of the next couple months or so, especially with you kind of moving. I forgot to ask that.
So I'll be moving in September. So I
Oh,
kind
never
of
mind.
am going to be nice and stable for the summer. The plan is to play some games. I'm going to be actually having a charity stream in June. So that'll be really exciting on June 13th. That's going to be a little earlier, actually, June 13th at like 3 p.m. Pacific. I'm going to be working with a group called Stream for a Cause, and we're going to be raising money for charity on my channel. And that always gets extremely degenerate because whenever donations are involved, last time, for example, I waxed my chest on stream. So
You're gonna probably have some more stream ones, and you just hope it doesn't reach there.
it'll get wild. So June 13th, if you guys didn't mark your calendars yet.
I'll try to get that heads up when it comes that time. Well, okay, again, thank you for joining. So that's gonna
Sure.
end the podcast. I don't know when the next one's gonna be, but yeah, hopefully we'll have another open talk, similar to what we've done tonight with Build a Fajita, kind of next month. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Anyone who watches on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, check out the podcast, check out all the other 47 episodes that I've done, even if some of them were lackluster in some sort. So yeah, bye.